Hello, champions. My name is Jason, and I'm here up in Midland, Ontario, and I'm thrilled to be reaching out to talk to each and every one of you tonight because tonight is our first ever Monday night live stream from the new owners of Genesis Battle of the Champions. Now, it's not just going to be me tonight, although in future weeks I will be always doing a Monday night live stream. That's my goal. But tonight, for our very first one, it's going to be extra special because we are going to be getting joined by a very special guest, and my partner here is going to bring him up onto the screen. There we are, the man, the myth, the legend. Say hello, Jeff Pacito.
Hello, Jeff Pacito. Hello, everybody. How's it going?
I'm excited to be here. Are you excited, Jeff?
I am very excited to be here. Extremely excited. Extremely excited.
That's awesome. Where should we start tonight? What do we want to talk about first? What do you think?
We can jump into right away answering some questions that we had before. We can ask the chat if they have some questions. I know Little Birdie told me you have some stuff you want to show off, but I think we should wait a little bit for that. I don't think that should be at the top of the order. That should be a little bit later on.
Yeah. We'll save that for a little bit into the stream.
Does anyone have questions in the chat? Let's try and grab a question out of the chat first, and then I can jump over to the questions we got previously through the Discord.
Sure.
If anyone has anything they want to drop in right now.
And let's also ask the chat, how's the audio quality for everybody? Yeah. And how's the video quality? It's always good to double check with the chat to make sure that the viewing experience is good for them.
Yeah. No comments on how we actually look, just on how the video quality is. You got to
right.
Be very careful with what you ask for.
Yeah, that's right.
What we're looking for. Audio video sounds good from one of them. Both are solid. Audio and video sounds great. Sound quality, AV is great. All right. While we're waiting for them to come up with questions, because I know there's a bit of a delay there.
Yeah.
Sorry, Sean just posted it. Doesn't feel like Genesis without a camera freeze.
Right.
On Exploring the Library, there was always camera freezing up. But
well, that may happen tonight.
Yeah, we never know.
It's our first time doing this, so we'll see how it goes.
We'll see what happens. But we can jump into a question right away because someone did jump in and ask a question right away in the Discord.
Okay.
They said, will we be printing what the community called plus champions? These were champions that changed over time. Like they were different. They were revisiting old champions.
Right. How
do you feel, Jason? Maybe we'll do it more this way. I'll treat it like a question and answer thing. I'm going to ask you, how do you feel about champions changing over time instead of just being what they were when they were first printed?
I'm a big believer that the champions are going to be a key part of our storytelling moving forward. And I think it would be a disservice not to try and tell tales of how the champions evolve over time. So in regards to the plus versions of champions that were floating around in design before, I wouldn't be surprised if somewhere down the line you see new versions of champions getting printed that may or may not have similar stats to those plus champions, but we won't be naming them like Odara Plus or whatever. I'm not a fan of that. I think it will treat it similar to how characters have developed in other card games over time, where there'll be slightly different names and slightly different artwork to show reflections of what's happened to them in the game and in the story. That's my 2 cents. What do you think about that, Jeff?
I think the same. I like the idea of champions not only moving through the world, but moving through time in the world. I like to see them age. I like to see them grow up. I don't like the Simpsonification, if that's a word. Like the Simpsons always been the same age. It can be funny, but I don't think that's really what this game is meant for. So I do like to see them grow throughout time as people as well. They develop, they change, things like that. I think that pushes a story forward. If you don't have something like that, your story is somewhat stagnant because you're just going to be what you were up till then. That character is that character. There can be character growth, but rarely does that happen in such a short window. Your character growth is over time. So the longer the time period, the more they can grow and change, the deeper your story can get, the better the lore can grow over time. And I do think that's the right way to approach it, the way some other games have, where you have monikers that associate with that. And I think people would like to see that. They'd like to see their favorite champion grow and change over time and become something new and a little bit different, as it were.
Yeah. So yeah, long story short, you'll likely see growth of the characters over time, and they'll probably be slightly tweaked and changing as things affect them through their lives. But I never liked the plus nomenclature in the names. I'd rather it be a reflection of the character changing.
So Shahan's asking that specifically it was bringing original champions up to the current power level. And I can't answer that officially, but I think the idea is that the original champion is the original champion, and we're growing from there. That
Mhm.
champion is going to grow and change over time.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
fair.
it's not going to be just a rehash of the same champion. We're going to move them forward through time.
And you never know. We haven't talked about it all, but anything's possible. You might even see champions someday change their affiliation. Anything could possibly happen someday, right? We haven't
Never know.
discussed it yet, but I think the future's very bright with unlimited storytelling opportunity ahead of us.
Yep, I agree. I agree on that. Do you want to move on to the next? The plus was for testing, not for naming. Yeah, yeah, we
Yeah,
understand that.
I'm the only one
We
who's not able to read the chat live, so you'll just have to tell me questions when it comes up.
yeah. So feel free to say anything you want about Jason. I won't tell him. I'm kidding. Don't actually say that. Keep everything, please, clean and above board. We're trying to be all things to all people here. It's a very accepting chat room. So let's do that.
Yeah.
Next question was official promos by me.
Well, you're going
And
to be the one to answer that question then.
yeah, I want to address it directly because it's not the Jeff Pasito show. So it depends what direction the art goes, but this isn't about me. It's about Edge of Exile carrying the game forward. So that's the goal here, is to move the game forward, whatever's best for the game. So I think that's the best answer for it, because it's not about what I can do myself. It's what I can bring to the table for the entire company to move forward with. I think that's the best answer for that. I'm there if it's needed, but if there's a better option, we take the better option.
Yeah, that's important to focus on for sure. Is none of us are so ego driven that we would put ourselves ahead of the game. We are very devoted, all three of us, in doing whatever it takes to help the game grow. And if there's a better alternative out there, a better talent than what one of us can contribute, we will use that better talent to take the game to whatever heights we can get it to.
Yep. Yep. Next one, actually, I want to jump into the chat there. Cardboard Cohorts would like to see Erica summon wolves instead of tigers because her story was about wolves, not tigers.
Any comment, Jeff?
No, there's no answer for
Nope.
that. That's just a comment there. So I'm just putting it out there into the ether, and we'll see what happens with that as we move forward.
Anything's
Cardboard
possible.
Cohorts also likes wolves. That's kind of his, I don't want to say spirit animal because that's appropriating something, but that's his thing. So might have a little bit of a soft spot for wolves in particular. So
Fair.
probably hit
Yep.
most people. Better community engagement was our next question. I should clarify. I'm summarizing the questions you guys had. Please, if you're in the chat and it's a little bit different than how I'm summarizing it, as before, Shahan clarified the plus question that Chaotic Systems had. Just clarify it for us. I summarized it as best I could what I thought the question was going to be and what I thought it meant. So better community engagement, right, is what one of the next questions from Kenny was. I think. Do you mind if I take this one first, Jason?
Yeah, by all means. Sure.
We're going to try and be as present as possible. However, direct, continuous involvement can lead towards, what's the proper word? Like we like the communication. We need that to come in. We need to answer that. But that's not the only method for pushing a product forward and pushing a company forward. And we need to have a clear delineation between the community and the company, and that needs to be there. I don't think that, I think that goes without saying, that you need to have that while still taking the information and the feedback from the community. You want to engage them. You want to you want to be involved in the community, but you don't want to take the community into your business, as it were, because they are two separate entities. How do you feel about that, Jason?
I think it could have been worded a little better.
Yeah, I'm really bad.
I'm going to throw you under the bus, Jeff.
Bad at wording.
I'm going to throw you under the bus a little bit.
Right.
Do you mind if I take a stab at answering about communicating with the community?
By all means.
All right. So here's my take on it. Is we want to be at least as communicative as every other trading game company out there. And I think we can set an example by being more communicative. These very live streams that will be going every Monday night moving forward is an example of a way that we want to reach out and establish two-way communication with the fans who are really the most excited about the game. Because a lot of people out there in the world are going to be playing this game, loving it, and never tune into a live stream. We know that generally speaking, usually it's your most passionate core group of fans are the ones who will tune into live streams, want to speak with the creators or the manufacturers or publishers or whatever word you want to use. And we're very receptive because first and foremost, Jeff and I have been collectible card game gamers for years. Keep in mind, like I have a history of being a Magic judge, so I've worked in the gaming community and trying to contribute. And one great thing I can say about a lot of my Magic judge friends out there that I know is that's a community that's filled with people who go above and beyond to grow the community and try and bring new people into it. And that's something that I'm trying to bring here to this community now is I'm very motivated. I think this is, in my personal opinion, the most fun collectible card game out there right now. I love playing Genesis more than any other game, and I've made it my personal mission to share this game with as many people around the world as I can because I believe that if more people try it, more people are going to love it. And I really feel like there's no limit to the growth. So we are very motivated to reach out to the community. We're very motivated to build connections. And both Jeffrey and Janice and myself, we're all very receptive to hearing feedback. Now, what Jeff was alluding to before is not all feedback is going to get acted upon. And of course, that's a very rational sentence to make. You can never please everybody. And there are going to be people who will suggest one idea that other people are going to hate and vice versa. So we're going to always try and take the best suggestions, the best viewpoints. We're going to try and hire the best people. And we're going to work together as a cohesive unit with our fan group to try and make this the best game and the best gaming community that we can. How do you feel about that, Jeff?
That's exactly what I said. You just worded it nicer.
Okay, yeah, that's right.
In all fairness, that's what I was trying to get at. Yes, I was trying to get that point across that we can't do everything everyone asks us to do, but we're going to do as best we can and engage as many people as we can, as often as we can. You're right. The way you worded it was much more succinct, I think. Joey's got a question in the chat that is actually part of our regular questions.
Okay.
If you don't mind, Joey, I'm going to wait till we get to it in the regular stream of questions, just because.
Janice just showed me a question in the chat that I'd like to answer for a second.
Sure.
Can you show me it again just so I read it properly? The question was basically, Mr. Alex 21 is asking about will there be pitch contests for future cards? At this point in time, I think we're going to say we don't have any plans for something like that right now. And we're definitely not going to rule that out. But we have a lot of content in our minds and a lot of exciting stories to tell to begin with. And I'm going to leave it up to Jeff to address whether or not we will be doing pitch contests at a later date. We'll come back to that. Jeff will probably handle that. He'll take the lead on that in the future, if and when the time may be right. But for now, we have a lot of exciting content that we envision bringing into the Genesis world. Is that a fair statement, Jeff?
I think so, yeah. I think there's enough going on right now that we need to tackle it from this standpoint before we start bringing in outside those sorts of outside ideas at this point in time.
Yeah.
But we don't want to rule it out because we don't know what's going forward yet as we plan for the future.
Nothing's off the table.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Our next question is about transparency, just the idea of transparency in general. Do you want to take that one first, Jason?
Just refresh me, give me a basic gist on what the question was, and I will.
It was, let me pull up the exact question. I can read
Sure.
to you exactly the question, just to make sure I don't get it wrong, because I just put the word transparency when we to answer it. It's right up. Sorry for the delay here. Okay, so as an extension of the community engagement part, as an extension is more transparency, something we'll be able to expect, not necessarily clear as glass, but at least information regarding potentially large changes so that you might garner feedback first.
That's an interesting question. In regards to transparency, I would like to think that we're going to strive to be as transparent as we can when it is applicable and appropriate. Now, there's going to be some times where there are things that no company talks about, whether it's a gaming company or not. For example, on a personal level, generally speaking, I would never reveal if somebody gets hired or fired from the company because some people out there may love or may hate a company. And if you're outing people that work for you or previously worked for you, it's not my place to do that. If anyone wants to come forward and say that they're excited to be working with us or wants to come forward and say that they have no interest, that's always on them. But as far as the future of the game, we'll be very transparent about things that are relevant for the gaming community. Like, for example, one of the things that I'll share right now is full transparency. And Jeff, we were going to talk about this later, but it's a great time to answer it, is some people have been speculating as to when the first set is going to come out. under our
Mhm.
leadership. Somebody in particular speculated originally, I think it was a hunch or a guess, that the next set, which is Invasions, might be coming out in like July or August. And then I think what happened is later on, they misremembered and thought that we had said that, but none of us here at Edge of Exile have ever confirmed when a release date for it would be. So that's something I can be transparent about is I don't want people to be misled and thinking it's coming out in July or August, because to be honest with you, it still takes more time to get things like printing contracts established, the shipping, the distribution through the wholesale channels, how it's going to actually get to stores all across the world. Those are things, those logistics take a fair bit of time, and not all of the links in that chain have been established yet. So we can't set a clear date yet, but we can comfortably say, honestly, that it won't be as early as July or August. That's just the truth of it, especially because our intention is moving forward that the cards are not going to be printed in Canada. They're probably going to be getting printed overseas, and that will add 1 or 2 months of transport time every time a new set comes out. So that's why we won't be able to hit that deadline that somebody kind of mistakenly thought we had attributed. So that's something we'll be transparent about. And other things like that in the future, we will always be transparent once we know for sure something's a fact. You don't want to share something and then take it back later,
Yep.
right? Yeah.
Yep, exactly. Some of those factors are even out of our control when it comes to what you're talking about
Someone
there, right?
wants
Like
to know
the
what
shipping, for example, right?
your
That's hard.
um, your backgrounds.
Can I?
John's asking about our backgrounds. He wants a little summary of us. Do you mind if we get to that a little later? I want to touch on some of these other things first, or do you guys want to tackle that now? Just kind of your background, my background, where we come from, what we do, who we are, basically,
Yeah.
in a summary. Do you want to do that now, or do you want to do that later?
And yeah, that's up to the crowd. Just for Joey, the fact is, you're right, Joey. We won't be going through Cardston, and we've been led to believe that that bridge probably got burned by previous owners, and that's okay. That's out of our hand. So. So it looks like Joey, again, Decks and Drafts has some questions, staffing decisions. Is this the stuff you were talking about that we're going to answer later before I read
We're
out
going to
loud?
answer later on. Someone asked something about that later on, so we're going to
Okay.
touch on that.
Yeah, okay, so that will get covered then.
Same with Steve-O's question that just popped up. That'll be somewhat answered later on as best we can. Some of these are going to be quick and easy to go through, so I can just rattle them off. It'll be like 20 questions. I'll just burn through them. Next question is about Geo. At this point, we don't have any plans to resurrect Geo. That's the matchmaking, score tracking portal that was never quite up to snuff. At this point, we don't have plans to resurrect that. Again, like we've said, not to say it's not going to happen in the future, but right now our goal is to get things going forward that we can control and get forward. So we want to make sure we do that. Next question was Patreon. We have no plans of bringing Patreon back at this time.
That's right.
For any kind of promos or anything like that.
Mhm.
Next question we have is about the art and design teams.
Oh, good.
Do you want to talk about art or design first, Jason?
Well, I mean,
design, you can talk, and if we talk about art, I can talk. It's your choice.
well, I mean, you are the chief design officer, so I'll defer to you. You go in whatever order you like.
Okay, so for the art teams, we've reached out to all the Invasion artists. We've touched base with them. We've spoken to all of them. We're all on good terms with them on a go forward basis. They're open to working beyond this point with us, so it depends how they fit into the next sets as we work through them. At this point, we are finalizing a few points with them to go forward on what Invasion has ready to offer.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this might be a good time to show something, Jason.
Sure, but before we do, let me just expand on what you just said, just because there's one key point that I think is really worth making extra clear to people, is what Jeff just alluded to was Jeff in particular, as he's going to be handling most of the art direction for the company moving forward. Jeff reached out to all of the artists who contributed art to the Invasion set. And to my knowledge, because I didn't handle all the phone calls and emails personally, but to my knowledge, all of the artists were very positive when we reached out to them. We've already made a commitment to fully pay for all of the artwork that wasn't fully paid for.
All the outstanding payments are going to be made?
Yeah.
Yes.
Which was not as huge of a number as some people mistakenly spread around, to be honest. It wasn't that huge a number. All the artists are going to be very happy because they're all getting paid in full. And it was a good experience, right, Jeff? Like, they were all good, friendly conversations. Some of them were very eager to work with us moving forward, which I was really thrilled with.
I was ecstatic with the response I got from them. They were very excited to hear from me.
Yeah.
Um, my, as an artist myself, I can say getting art out is important, and they were excited that their art would see the light of day, and they were very excited about that. And we were very excited to bring it forward
Yeah.
because we knew that's what had to happen, and we wanted to make amends with them with any way we could, and we have at this point,
Yeah.
and are on a go forward basis to clarify and clear everything up there. Um, because artists are the lifeblood kind of the card game, right? Of
Yes.
most card games, you need the artists, and these artists are happy for the work they did and happy to continue working. So
Yeah.
that's where we stand on that front. Yeah.
So I'm very happy to dispel any misunderstandings about that other people might have thought.
Yep.
Great relationship moving forward. And speaking of sharing some artwork, we do have a couple very cool surprises that we're about to share with you. A couple of new pieces of artwork never before seen. We're going to share. I'll personally tell you before you see them, I think these are gorgeous, and I think they're a really great indication of the quality improving in Genesis as time goes on, which will just make the enjoyment of the game that much better. And if you watch closely, you'll also see a third little thing get revealed in this video that hasn't been seen before that I'm very excited for people to see. Jeff, are you ready?
No, but go ahead.
All right, here we go. Hit it, Janice. Well, that was something. I'm excited to get that out in the open. What did you think, Jeff? That's actually the first time you saw that.
First time I saw that animatic, and I am very, very excited to see it, and I am ecstatic that we were able to show off those two pieces. Mario, if you guys are familiar with Mario Stashevsky, he's grown with the Genesis game. He started early on in Genesis, and his work is just phenomenal. Blew my socks right off. I am unbelievably ecstatic that I got to show that off. I think it's beautiful. I think you'll all agree. I hope you all agree that it was incredible.
And Mario was an extremely friendly, welcoming artist when we reached out to him too. A
Yep,
very
100.
kind individual. So I would
Yes.
be very happy to see more of his artwork featured in the future. Great person.
Yes, yes, for sure. And it goes without saying, Marion, who's new to the community, I don't know if anyone is familiar with her name. She is in the Discord sometimes. Marion Cunier, I believe I'm pronouncing that right. It is a French name. Is just phenomenal. That was a beautiful, beautiful rendition of Yuan, and I can't get enough of it. We needed to show those right away because of how stellar they were. And I'll be honest with you, Jason, I can't wait to show more. I know we're not showing any more today, but I can't wait to show more when we finally can.
I'm really excited too. There's some beautiful art out there.
And I think someone noticed the little Easter egg you put in there.
Yeah. Talk about it because that's yours. Share that with the world, my friend.
Okay, so that was my contribution thus far. The redesign of the Genesis Battle of Champions logo. I hope you guys are happy with it because it's a much cleaner, crisper, easier to read logo. Should work in multiple sizes and formats. We tried to really take a proper printing approach to it and make it as accessible as possible in that respect. I didn't work in a vacuum. I didn't work alone. Obviously, Jason and Janice helped me with it. We worked as a team to get that done, and we're very proud of it. It doesn't hold a candle, obviously, to the artwork we saw. That artwork was phenomenal.
Yeah.
But I do want to make it clear that we are moving forward into another era and another generation of Genesis by doing so with a logo refresh and just phenomenal artwork from these artists. Just bar none, the best artwork I've seen.
And as any experienced Genesis player will know, we have to redo the card back anyways because it used to have Haunted Castle Gaming's logo on it. Mm-hmm. So they can look forward to probably in a few weeks seeing a redesigned card backing as well, which we'll be very excited to share when it's the right time to do so.
The speaking of that, we had a question. So now I'm going to go out of order here. I'm going to forget something. No, we're going to go out of order. We'll come back to card back. Sorry, I don't want to go out of order because then I'm going to miss someone's questions here. And I don't
Yeah,
want to
that's
do that.
fair. Yeah, we'll take our time.
Does
Lots
anyone
of things
have
to
any
talk about.
questions about that animatic they saw? Because before I go back to the regular questions, I want to know if there's any questions about the artwork, about the logo, anything you saw there. Because I know it was kind of quick, and I don't want to just gloss over it. I want to give people a chance. Maybe if you're set up for it, Jason, at the end, we can run that one more time for people to watch.
Oh yeah, we
call
could totally play it again at the end for sure.
Okay, so think if you've had any questions, and we'll run it back again towards the end of the broadcast. I can jump to the next question, which was actually a second part, and that was about the design team. Do you want to talk about the design team, Jason? Or do you want me to talk about the design team? Whichever you
No,
prefer.
I think I'd rather talk about the design team than you, Jeff.
Right ahead.
Was there a specific question that I should start with answering, or like is it just
Uh,
in general?
it was the art and design teams. What's going on with them going forward? I can pull up
Mhm.
the exact question. Let me do that
Sure.
to make sure we're not misrepresenting anything that was asked.
Right. I don't want to answer a slightly different question. I'd like to try and answer the
Right.
one that's asked.
Are there plans to bring back much of the original art and design teams? So we answered the art team.
Yeah.
For Invasion, it is the original art team that's there. For sets beyond that, we're keeping all of our options open. But so I guess I didn't really answer that part of that question. We are keeping all our options open, but as you can see, the artwork has moved to a new level. So we're going to try and maintain that as much as possible going forward. Obviously, we can't talk about that stuff yet, but we're trying to maintain that level of quality. So now the design team, same question. Are much of the design team coming back?
Well, that's a great question. To begin with that answer, the first thing to mention is, as I said earlier, here at Edge of Exile, our intent is always to use the best artwork and to hire the best people to help us with design moving forward. And you can't move forward without at least taking a look at the people who made contributions along the way. We reached out to, I believe, every single person who was involved in the game before. That's right, Jeff? Everybody? I think so.
Yes. We reached out to everyone we were told was involved in the game.
Yes. Right, at the time of Haunted Castle shutting down, I should say, we reached out to everybody that was involved in the game. We tried to, and I'll explain something, because this is probably a good time to talk about some questions that revolve around the design team, is we reached out to everybody as a gesture of good faith and goodwill, because it's not our mess to clean up, and we had no involvement with the game up until now. So anything that was done by previous owners and management was out of our control and we had no influence on. But we know that some people, to be fair, were treated unfairly or didn't get what they deserved. And that made us sad, even though it's through no doing of our own. So we reached out to some people who used to be involved in Haunted Castle Gaming, tried to offer an olive branch of goodwill to like, is there any way we can help? I'm very happy to say that one of the people we reached out to was very responsive, very mature, and came back with a request. And we were able, and I'm not going to name who it is. If they want to talk publicly about that, that's on them, not us. But we were able to help somebody financially who was in a bad situation, at least in a small amount. And it felt really good to do that. But that was just a gesture of goodwill because we were able to do so. Now then, I am very happy to share that a lot of people that we reached out to who used to be involved in the game were very receptive. I can actually announce, I have permission to announce that JC, who was involved in the game design before, has agreed to come on board with us and is going to be helping us moving forward. We've had very positive talks with another individual who was involved with the game, who I anticipate will probably be bringing officially on board very shortly, and it's a name that's very well respected and well loved. So that's all I will say about that, because again, I don't want to out people who may or may not decide to work for us. It's not my place to do that. And then interestingly enough, another person that we reached out to, I personally reached out and talked to them on the phone, tried to offer them something just to smooth over any ill feelings that they may have misplaced towards us and to try and be helpful. And they declined to make a request, and that's fine, that's on them. And another person that we dealt with, that we tried to deal with, I don't know, Jeff, how that was one you dealt with. How did that final one go? I don't want to put words in your mouth.
the same. We said like we're trying to rectify someone else's problems, and we wanted to put our best foot forward. Trying to say we're in this for the long haul. We don't want any bad blood or ill will that whether we create it or not, we don't want it there.
Yeah.
And there was no response. It was
Yeah.
I gave them a bit of time. They may still get back to us, but it's been about 3 days now,
Yeah.
3-4 days, and there's no response as of yet. So I don't know what else to do.
So yeah, so the long and the short of that whole art design team question is all the artists are happy, they're all getting paid, that's moving forward great, and we're super excited. We've reached out to everybody who was involved in the design team. Some people we were able to financially help, some people have already joined our team, some people are thinking about joining our team, and then some people have chosen not to respond, and that's fine because we can still feel good moving forward knowing that we had no obligation to try and help them, and we did anyways because we felt it was the right thing to do.
And in all fairness, that is their choice to not move forward.
Yeah, you don't have to love us or anything. You know,
No,
that's totally
perfectly
fine.
Yeah, everyone's allowed their own opinion, their own course
Absolutely.
in life. So
Yeah.
that's not something we hold against anyone. That's their own
No,
that's
yeah,
their
absolutely
decision.
right. But
Yeah.
moving forward now, we know that ethically we've done everything that we could to try and help people, including the people who are done bad by other people besides us. And we're going to be moving forward with this company with a clean slate.
Yeah, yeah. We can sleep well at night knowing we tried our best
Yeah,
for
that's
whatever.
right.
Yeah, yeah. I have a few more questions if we want to jump through
Please do.
these ones. Cardboard Cohorts asked if we have any plans on changing confusing terms like thoughts, subconscious memories, etc. I don't mind answering that one if you'd like, because I have a very canned response that is very professional and very businesslike.
Okay, let's hear your canned response. That's very professional and business-like. I love it.
I should put a tie on for this.
Yeah, yeah.
Right now, we don't have solid plans to make too many sweeping changes, as we'd like the transition in ownership to be as smooth as possible and not create any unnecessary waves. We do understand the confusion that can arise in transitioning from games, so we're hoping as we move forward to mitigate that in any way possible. And that's a whole lot of nothing because we don't have a plan for that.
Yeah.
That's my professional answer to that. Is I understand that there could be some confusion there. A lot of games do use different terminology, and I think it's just a matter of clarifying that and keeping it straightforward and clean as our go forward. It's not something we want to change at this point in time. It would just confuse things on a go forward basis at this point.
Yeah, and the truth is, we also like we're in this position where now, and we've bought the IP for the game now because we love the game the way it was.
Yep.
We're not gonna change things just for the sake of change now. If it's not
Yep.
something that we feel strongly needs to be changed because it could be greatly improved, then we're not gonna fiddle around with little things because we
If it
all love
improves,
this game. Yeah, exactly.
right?
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. But we have then the same question that Kenny asked earlier, which was, will we make older champions? And we answered that already. Will
Yeah.
champions grow up? Will they change over time? Simple answer that we had a very long-winded version of was yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Expect to
plan.
see character growth moving forward.
Yes.
That's the plan.
Shahan has asked what our stance is on the rarity of cards and unique mechanics. I can take a stab at that one if you'd like. It's pretty simple and straightforward.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's being asked, so go ahead.
Okay, that's the core competency of the game. Unlimited cards as long as you meet your chi value and whatnot. He's asking, are we going to fall into the same pattern that other games do, where the rarer the card, different levels of rarity that make it much harder to get a viable deck. And I don't think we have any plans for that. We don't want to make this game less approachable. We want to maintain its approachability level. People can get into it and play under reasonable circumstances. We don't think that anyone's status should have a bearing on their ability to play the game. We want people to be able to play the game and have fun. That's why it's a game. That's the point of it being a game. Play it and have fun is our thought.
Yeah, can I add on to that?
By all means.
So taking off my game designer hat for a second and putting on my local game store owner hat for a second, one of the things
Sure.
I've always loved about Genesis on a very small local game store level was I always felt great recommending it to people, partly because of the fact not only that I find it more fun, but also it's more affordable. In my store and specifically, and I don't know about other people's stores, but we sell Genesis booster packs for less than booster packs from other games. We price the booster boxes lower. I think every store prices them lower because it's a more affordable on a wholesale level. And I love that. That's always been one of the driving things that I try and recommend to other people. It's an amazingly fun game. Everyone can play it. It's really creative and tactical, and it's more affordable than similar competitors out there. And I don't have any intentions of making conscious decisions to price people out of being able to play Genesis. That's one of the things that I love about the game is that it's a little bit more accessible financially for people than other games. And I hope that we can always preserve that. That's my hope.
And that bounces right into a question from Will K about how do we approach collectability and chase cards and a drive to open boxes. And along the lines of what Jason was saying, we have some ideas for that, but nothing's concrete yet. So we can't talk about anything yet. We just have some ideas as we push forward and move forward with the game. We do have ideas to keep people engaged and wanting to buy more boxes for collectability purposes, but nothing concrete as of yet.
Can I take another question?
Yeah, by all means, go ahead.
Well, there's one directed at me, so I'd like to answer it if that's okay.
Oh, right at you. Okay.
Yeah.
Take it.
So Gary Chen out there has asked, hi, Jason, as a co-owner of Genesis, do you still own North of Exile? And does owning a local game store impact your work on Genesis? As many game publishers do, I would think it's supposed to say, do own a stake in the secondary market. So I'd like to address that because it's a very good question. We kind of addressed it just now a second ago, but just to expand on that, you need to give me the phone. I was going to collect my thoughts while I read the question. Sorry, give me a second. So as a co-owner of Genesis, do you still own North of Exile? Yeah, I do. I'm a game store owner. I'm president of two companies, this one and that one. And does owning a game store impact my work on Genesis? No, but I do think it informs and is going to help me do a better job, to be honest, as a president of Edge of Exile Entertainment, because I know the struggles that local game stores have faced. And I'm not going to talk much about dollars at all, but I will say, and if there's any local game stores out there watching, they'll probably agree with me, that the margins on other collectible card games are way too small sometimes. It hurts to try and bring in booster boxes, barely make any money on them when you also want to, feed your family at the end of the month. So I'm very aware and sympathetic of the struggles that other local game store owners are facing. And let's not forget that local game store owners are one of the key linchpins in building any gaming community. If you don't have stores where owners want to host tournaments so that people can play your game is going nowhere. And some other games out there may have forgotten that. I don't know. I'm not putting words in anyone's mouth. But some games out there may have forgotten how important local game store owners are. And I am keenly aware. Because honestly, I first really fell in love with playing other card games about 8 or 9 years ago at a local game store that I would drive half an hour to and half an hour home from because it was the only one in my area. And I loved that game store so much. And I met a lot of friends there. And that's partly what's led to my whole life revolving around games now. So the answer to your question, I think, is I believe it's only going to be an advantage for fans and for local game stores out there that I personally have experienced the struggles as a fan and as a game store owner. And I think that gives us a unique insight on the ground level to try and avoid the pitfalls that some other games have fallen into. And I hope that answers your question.
Secondary market. That's what he asked as well. If it will, the game done owns a stake in the secondary market.
I have nothing to do with the secondary market at all. We just, all of our prices on singles get set automatically because we have an account through Binder POS, and we just price match other stores if we have to manually. So I have no influence on the secondary market at all, nor would I want to. That would be a conflict. And I can wear those two hats without dealing with that issue at all.
We have one other question here to answer, Jason, along the same vein.
Okay.
So will North of Exile get priority when it comes to Genesis over other retailers?
Of course not. Quite bluntly, no, of course not. Am I going to give myself special treatment? No. Why would I? I want everybody out there to be on an equal playing market. I want every store to get, I don't know what pre-releases are going to be like in the future, but I know someday we're going to be doing them. I want to make sure every store that's qualified for pre-releases gets their product at the same time. I want to make sure we're all on the same level. There will be no advantage for my little game store. And honestly, There's not many game stores in my close geographic area anyways. Midland's a little isolated. There's so many stores that love Genesis around the world. We're one tiny little drop of water in an ocean of game stores. So no, there will be no special treatment.
Well, and I can speak to that as well because I have no stake in North of Exile games.
That's right.
So
Anything
there,
I took would be basically stealing from Jeff, and I'm not going
right.
to steal from
That's,
Jeff.
no,
Yeah.
I'm not up for that.
But
That's
neither
not,
am I. Like that's not
yeah,
how I run my
that's
business.
why,
So
that's
yeah.
why we know it's going to work in that respect because we're going to be as clear on that as we can. Everyone gets a fair shake.
Yeah.
Another quick question here I can jump to for Will K. Will we publish box breakdowns and pull rates? I have a very simple, quick answer for that. It will remain to be seen as we build out our production and printing plans, as we make agreements with manufacturers, because we have to see what they can provide us with. Because there's nothing worse than having a box breakdown pull rate that your manufacturer then cannot manage. So we're going to make sure that all that is clear cut before we start talking about any of that information. We don't want to talk about anything like that, or even say that we have that until our manufacturer can prove to us that they do have that information very clean, very well organized and done.
Exactly. That information would be worthless if we didn't know 100% that it was accurate.
Yep. Question for you, Jason, from the chat. Damien wants to know if we have plans for competitive play.
Like organized play in stores, similar to what was done with Geo before? Is that what we're talking about?
Damien, can you clarify if you mean that, or like store tournaments, or annual championships, or all of the above? I'll give you a second to get back on that because I know there's probably a bit of a delay there.
Yeah.
And while he's doing that, another question here is about bans and restrictions. I can field that unless you have a specific thing you want to talk about, Jason. If not,
I don't have anything specific in mind, so go ahead. What do you have to offer?
Obviously, the goal is to never have to ban or restrict anything. However, the health of the game is what's most important. So I would never take our personal love of something or whatnot over the health of the game. So
Right.
I am open to bans and restrictions. I don't know at what scale or at what timing that would help push the game forward if there are problems that need to be addressed. We're not going to be blind to it. We want to make sure that we are engaged in the play of the game, not just the manufacturer of the game. So we know that that's how we can keep it going forward.
Okay, now I have something I could add on.
Go right ahead.
Okay. Even with the industry leader, the most famous card game in the world right now, they still have cards that are banned in every format right now. The goal is always to have zero bans. The goal is to map out every possible potential card combination and how every card could theoretically interact with every other card and nip it in the bud in the design process. But we've seen over the last few years that it doesn't matter how big or successful the company is, sometimes a card slips through the cracks where you don't realize that it has an overpowered effect with one specific other card. So I would totally agree with Jeff that our goal as we would do our due diligence and design is always going to be to have zero cards on a ban or restricted list. But with humans being humans, there's definitely the possibility something might sneak out every now and then, and we would be proactive to take whatever steps we would need to make sure that the general in-store gameplay and community is fine and not damaged by an overpowered combination wrecking gameplay or the meta everywhere. Is that fair, Jeff?
I think that's fair. And I've got a question for you and maybe for the chat, because I feel like I'm taking crazy pills that the biggest game company in the world right now, or maybe second, I don't know if the other one's bigger. Anyways, they just announced that they're going to have a set ban and restricted time frame. It's going to happen at certain times of the year only. Did they not have that beforehand and then had to do emergency bans and restrictions and then fell into a free-for-all of constant bans and restrictions? And now everyone's acting like there was never a set ban and restriction time frame and this is new and exciting. Am I wrong?
Well, I think I can actually answer that a little bit, and I don't want to speak for another company. But I think the reason why the timing changed was because there became a lack of a pro tour. It used to be tied to the last ban and restriction change could only happen so far before a pro tour event, because you couldn't show up at a pro tour with a deck ready to play and then have it banned the week before or whatnot and throw out your months of play testing. And I think that fell by the wayside because for a long time during COVID, there was no pro tour. So it didn't matter when stuff got announced. And I'm assuming that it's now getting back on track because to my knowledge, other games have once again started with pro tour events. So that's probably the way that worked, just using my Magic Judge brain. So
I have a quick answer for Grandma Brand hot dogs in the chat. They're
my favorite brand of hot dogs, by the way.
Favorite
Love
brand.
those grandma brand hot dogs. Mwah.
When you barbecue them, they wrinkle up really well, which I think is why they use the grandma term, but I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, yeah. Oh, it's the
Uh,
wrinkles that give it the taste and flavor. But please carry on.
he's asking for Axe and Bellum to be banned overall because of their takedown of every championship.
Okay.
However, did Odara not just win a championship? Was that not something that was announced?
That seemed like that was something everyone was talking about in chat for the last few weeks. People kept
Right.
randomly
So
mentioning that.
I do believe it's a very open and even meta. I'm kidding. It was a one-off. I get it. We're going to have to work on things and look through things.
For
But
sure.
um, there was another question here from Steve-O. Will you be working with content creators or will it be done by only you? I think it's safe to say we're going to work with content creators going forward. That's not something, I mean, we're two people in a vast sea of online media people. There's no reason the two of
Content
us would
creators like streamers and box openers and stuff like that,
streamers,
or like
box openers, YouTubers, things like that. People that do that sort of thing. I can't see a reason why we would shut anyone out from having a conversation with us.
well, I mean, it's our job to make sure that Genesis is the most exciting and interesting card game out there eventually. I'd
Right?
imagine a lot of people are going to want to do content on it if we do our job right, and
I would.
we'll always encourage people
Yeah.
featuring our game, right?
Yep. Another question from earlier today was how
What
many
about the
sets.
one we have to get back to? We have to get back to that one. Did he answer?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, yes. No, I did. Damien, yeah, circuits, world championships, things like that. So not just organized play, but actual in-store championships, the world championship on an annual basis, that sort of thing.
I can answer a little bit of that right away, just to get it out of people's minds. And I'm sorry to give a little bit of bad news, but we won't be having a world championship this year. It's just not feasible because there are too many other things going on, including getting sets coming out again. But it is in our roadmap that next year in 2024, we fully expect to be able to host another world championship again. Obviously, there'll be no details about that for a long while, because we're doing other more time-sensitive things now, like getting the game up and running again. But that's the goal: is we want to have a world championship again next year. Hopefully, organized play will resume sometime next year as well, and everything else that goes along with that in good time. But we have to focus on what's in front of us right now first before we can get to that later. But
But
it
that
should
is
all
a
come
lot.
back.
That is a long-term target. We do want to
Yeah,
get back to that proper tournaments in stores, things like that, getting everyone back to playing on a competitive and a casual level because the game should be able to run on both those fronts. And it has been fun both ways, but we do need that competitive angle for the people that enjoy that. And a lot of people
yeah,
enjoyed it the last couple of
yeah,
championships. So we want to keep that
absolutely.
going. That kind of feeds into another question from Will, which was how many sets per year? And you kind of alluded to it there that as we start working through and planning that, so we're still in the planning phases of what we're doing, but our plan, and I don't think I'm speaking out of turn, Jason, saying that we're planning to release a competitive number of sets. And I know that that's not a solid number, but as he said, we are working on getting things back up and running right now. So we don't have a solid number to give out at this moment, but we do want to have a properly competitive one that encourages diversity in gameplay so that people are playing games for multiple sets, or playing cards for multiple sets as we go forward.
I may not have a solid number, but I have a soft, squishy number. But I won't share it because Jeff will get mad at me.
Okay, Jason, do you want to tell them what our 5-year goal is? That's not to say this isn't
Yeah,
going to happen sooner than 5 years, but at least within 5 years, what we expect to do on an annual basis for sets.
yeah. If you're okay with that, Jeff, I'd love to share that because I think it's an
Sure.
achievable goal, and I think we can make it happen. Our goal is 5 years from now, we'll be releasing 3 sets a year, and that will be the number moving forward from then on. I always, and I hate to reference other games, but when I played other games, I've always found that 4 sets a year feels just a little too much because I think, one, it hits some people's pocketbooks a little harder than you want, and two, you could, instead of playing for 3 months with a set, if you play with a set for 4 months, you get a little bit more value out of the meta for that. So I think that's our long-term goal. We've all agreed on that, is eventually we will get up to 3 sets a year. And if all goes well, this might be the only year, the one we're in right now, where only 1 set gets released. We're going to
Fingers
work.
crossed, but
Yeah.
don't quote Jason on that because he wasn't supposed to say that. So
Well,
don't quote Jason.
I did say if all goes well. I'm quantifying
I'm
that.
kidding. Of
That
course,
that
I understand. Yeah,
our hope is that next year we'll be able to release 2 sets, and I don't have any reason to think it won't. If we work hard and we have the right people on board our team, we can do that.
Yeah, and I do agree with that. That our 2 year goal is to get 2 sets out, and then our 3 year goal is to start hitting the 3 mark. We
Yeah.
use the 5 year plan just as a proper business structure of a 2 and 5 year plan or 3 and 5 year plan. So that's why we target 5 as a thing. And if we're ahead of the
Because
game,
that's what
we're ahead
banks
of the
want to
curve.
know. Banks want to know what you're going to be
Yes.
doing in 5 years.
Yeah,
So that's why we
exactly.
plan that
Oh,
far out.
let's talk to the banks.
Yeah.
So we won't get into that.
No, no.
But
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of that talking going on.
Mhm.
We have a question about old cards, and I'd like to clarify with old cards. That's from Will K. It came earlier. What do we do with old cards? Are they going to be playable? And at this point, as this is an officially sanctioned continuation of the Genesis Battle of Champions card game, all
All the
those
same
old
game.
cards, yeah, it's all the same game. Those cards are obviously playable as long as they're not recognizable, meaning you do have to play them in sleeves of some sort.
Yeah.
But you had to do that with Genesis anyways. You couldn't play in a competitive tournament of the previous iteration of Genesis under the previous ownership without sleeving your cards because of variations in printing. So
Yeah.
they all had to be sleeved anyways. We have no problem with anything following at this point, at least following the current banned and restricted list, because there is a very small banned and restricted list. Hydroblast, restrictions on Will's favorite card, things like that. That is still going to be maintained at this point until we get to a point where we can revisit and start proper rotation if we get into rotation at some point.
Which we will
those
someday. We have no idea when
Yes.
that'll be right now. But
No.
obviously, as with every other game, sooner or later there will get to be a point where rotation will make sense. But it's not something to
Yeah.
worry about in the near future.
No, it's nothing to worry about now. It's something that helps keep a game healthy over time.
Yeah.
So we do have to target that. That's just how it works. You can see with all the other games, that's how it works.
Yeah.
Another question we have is: are we starting at ground zero or continuing from where the previous game left off?
That's an interesting question.
I think that meant gameplay, story. It kind of hit on all cylinders there. Are we starting with nothing, or are we continuing from where? I guess basically, are we moving forward from the point where Invasions was supposed to be released, or are we rehashing everything before Invasions comes out? That was one of Will's questions. I'll see if I can find the exact wording of it, unless he's in the chat and can clarify it. Here we are. Are you starting from ground zero, brand new, fresh take, or are you going to build off of what has been established, focusing on the business aspect? Can you still continue onto TCG Player, or is opportunity spent focusing on Canada, worldwide? So I guess basically on all fronts.
That's actually that's about 4 different questions all mixed into one. To be honest with you, you have to break it down bit by bit.
This is why me and Will have, I won't call it beef, I'll call it chicken. We have chicken once in a while because we like to rib each other like this, and that feels like one of those questions, Will.
You like to rib each other. That definitely sounds like beef, not chicken.
You never had chicken ribs? Really, really small. Really small.
No. I have not.
I don't know. It's getting late, Jason. I don't know. It's past my bedtime. I don't think that's something we can answer specifically at all those questions, but we're not starting at ground. We are moving forward so that people will feel familiar moving forward, I think is a safe answer to that.
Yeah.
We're not starting at ground zero. We're not reinventing the wheel. We're moving forward with our best foot forward, carrying forward the best parts to move forward with.
Well, yeah, because again, we bought this game because we love it and we believe in the game as it is. It's my favorite game to play. We have no reason to throw everything away that's been done. But some things will get changed over time, in so much as little tweaks, minor improvements, anything we believe that can make the game more fun for everybody, we are open to considering. That's fair, right, Jeff?
I think so. I think that is fair. We have a question in the chat about a hardcover lore book with artwork. That was something that had been planned apparently in the original one.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I did not know that either. Like we've said, nothing is off the table on a go forward basis as the necessity arises. But as of right now, the goal is to get the game going forward. We're building a product. The product is a game. We want to keep the game going.
I mean, if you fans out there really, really, really wanted a hardcover lore artwork book, all you'd have to do is call Jeff and tell him it's okay to put his name on the front of it, because he loves printing books with his name on them. The comic books and stories. If it's got the name Jeff Pacito on the front, we could probably get it published, I think.
I cannot fit out of this room now because my head is swollen. Thank you very much, Jason. Thank you for that one. Joey had not a question, but he was commenting on the TCG player point that Will had asked, that nothing had ended there. Like when Haunted Castle Gaming shut their operations down. But from our standpoint, we're going to make the best decisions going forward for the game.
Yeah.
And we're not saying no to anything, and we're also not saying 100% yes to anything, because we're still in that planning stage. As of last week, right, Jason? Last week, we finally were in a position that we could start making decisions.
Yeah,
So
which
we're
feels really
less than
good.
literally 5 days into making decisions on this
Yeah.
ourselves. So this is really, really fresh for anyone who's ever dealt with businesses in general, let alone M&A. This is really fresh. So we're keeping all of our opportunities open, and we can't commit to certain things until we're sure where we're going with all that. We had a question from Priestess in the Discord too. Are we looking for help in writing, development, and play testing? And I think at this point we're in the process of building out our go forward team. So the answer is yes and no, I guess, at the same time, because we're still working on that.
Yeah.
But it's not something that we're at liberty to speak of at this point. Maybe is that the right way to put it, Jason?
Yeah, I think that's fair. We have some people already committed. We have some people that are probably going to be officially coming on board very soon. And then we need to actually sit down and start working on all those tasks and evaluate whether we need more support or not. So it's not quite at the time that we have to make the final decisions on that. We're only just starting to look at that, I believe.
Yep.
So,
like we said, 5 days into the
yeah.
acquisition, so we're still fresh on getting this stuff off the ground and running.
Yeah.
There was one question before was a little bit of history. In other words, where do you come from, Jason? Who are you? Who's anybody?
Was it just about me, or was it about you too?
No, I just want a little bit of our history. I'm amazingly, not everyone knows you, Jason. I know your ego speaks otherwise, but not everyone knows who you are.
They
and
will.
What you've done in life. And
you're all gonna know me, and you'll love me. I promise.
Actually, you know what? Before we answer that
one, whoa! What was that?
That was almost some shattered glass. So we'll just ignore that for now.
Okay.
Almost. It was good. I guess it's tempered glass. We're okay.
Did you see that, everybody? For 1 second, I got the limelight and Jeff started smashing things. This is what I got to deal with.
Okay, before we jump to stroking your ego, Shahan had a question about the judge program. Haunted Castle Gaming had a judge program. Are we planning to have a judge program going forward at some point?
We will need one, because organized play is going to be a thing someday, and you can't have organized play without qualified individuals who are impartial and able to make effectual rulings. So we will absolutely need some sort of judge community. I don't know, was it officially called Judges in Genesis?
It's called Judges Everywhere. I saw it. I always thought it should have a more clever name, but then are we getting too cutesy by coming up with a clever name for it? I know Judges use it often for most things, but I know
because Pokemon uses professors. Does Flesh and Blood use judges? I'm not sure.
I don't know. Does anyone know what Flesh and Blood uses?
We might come up with a different name for it, but there will be some sort of official program for rulings that people can be a part of.
Now, Jason, how would you know why it's so valuable to have judges in a game? Do you have any history in judging and why a judgeship is important for a game?
Oh yes, as I alluded to earlier, I was a Magic judge for about 6 years. In fact, I was a level 2 Magic judge, which means I got the ability to travel all around North America. And if COVID didn't happen, I would have been flying to Europe as well to be a Magic judge at major events. So I've worked at Grand Prix or Magic Fest, depending what year it was when we're talking about, in awesome cities like Las Vegas. I've judged in Las Vegas 3 times, I think. I've worked in Orlando, Florida, Providence, Rhode Island, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Montreal, Toronto. I've been all over Canada, all over the States judging, and there's a lot of benefits to having an organized program for judges, because as games get more competitive and people start getting bigger crowds, naturally the pricing ramps up, and you need qualified, impartial people who are able to make accurate rulings, because if somebody is competing for a $500 prize or in Las Vegas for a $50,000 prize, the last thing you want is somebody who's worked hard to create this game and create this venue for people to come out and have fun, is to see somebody leave at the end of the day feeling like they got denied their rightful win, their rightful glory, their rightful prize money because somebody was incompetent and made the wrong ruling. So I know full well the depth of need of having qualified judges or officials for a card game, because it takes away all the worry that people will have that it's going to be an unfair environment. And I can say from personal experience, as a former Magic judge that a lot of the people who I know, including myself, who worked as Magic judges, oftentimes we would work for 12-hour days in major events for what would equate to about 8 hours worth of pay because people loved it so much and because they wanted to see the community grow and they cared about it so much that kind of they allowed themselves to get financially taken, not get compensated quite properly. And when we do eventually get a judge program or some, whatever we wind up calling it established in the future for organized play for Genesis, one of my primary goals is to make sure that we properly and fully compensate the people who dedicate their time and their energy to building the community. Because just like store owners are especially key people that you need to grow a gaming community worldwide, you need to appreciate the people who take the time and the effort and the energy to learn rule books that could be this thick. Like it takes real hours of studying and practicing and learning and memorizing, and not everybody's willing to do it. And it's a personal issue that I feel really strongly about, that I want to make sure that anybody who works at the future for an organized event on a big scale for Genesis, because we will get there someday, I want to make sure that they're properly compensated. I feel very passionate about that. And I think that's one of the key things that we need to do as a company in the future to make sure that our game can reach the heights that it deserves.
There's some great suggestions for what to call a judge program on a go-forward basis, but I'm a huge Three Stooges fan, so I'm in favor of Judgy Wudgy. But I'm not.
Well, we'll put a pin in that, and we'll come back to that later.
Okay.
the
We'll
the Judgy Wudgy program. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So that's just me then. That's all we have from the earlier questions that were posted in the Discord. I think we've hit everything that's been in our chat. I don't think I've missed anything. If I have, and anyone has a question that was not answered or they don't feel it was answered, sorry, the history. That's what I was alluding to with the judgeship, was for you to just go a little bit about who you are. I know we said this quickly on our last stream, but just a little bit. I was trying to feed into that. It was supposed to be a nice little segue.
Sorry.
But you
I thought you were asking about the judge program in general.
You went off on your judge rant. Beautiful, by the way. You should post that somewhere.
I misunderstood the question. I apologize.
You should put that judge thing on the internet. That was a very good rant about that.
Well, I'm very passionate about that. But yeah, if anybody wants to know a little bit about who I am, I'll give you the very, very short version of a long story. I'm just your average guy, love games. I spent 20 years of my adult life working in a factory. 6 years ago, the factory tried to put me on steady afternoons, and I asked them a key question. Why would I stay working on afternoons and never see my family when the only reason I come to work is to earn money to provide for my family? And weirdly enough, they didn't have an answer that met my standards. So my spouse Janice and I, we decided it was time for me to quit. Despite the fact I had 20 years seniority in a unionized job and was making very good money, if I couldn't see my family, it wasn't worth it. So we quit. We bought a building. We opened up a local game store in a town that had none. And we tried to build it based on all the great examples of game stores I had seen all around the world. Because I'd been judging for a couple of years while I was still working in the factory, I should say. So I had started traveling around the world, had already been to Vegas and things like that. So we tried to take all the best things that we had seen from local game stores all around North America, put it into our little store. And we survived the whole front street in front of our store being ripped up for a whole summer. We worked super hard to survive that. We survived COVID. We actually grew a bit in COVID. Now we're not just a local game store, but we're also a soft serve ice cream shop and a board game cafe and a coffee house. So like we're a very diverse, fun store. And then that led me to the love of Genesis, and that led me to kind of where I am. So on a lot of levels, I'm just like a normal everyday guy like everybody else, but I have some unique experiences of traveling to be a Magic judge and meeting lots of friends in the gaming world. And I've met some really amazing people thanks to my gaming experiences that have affected me as a person. And I'm really grateful for a lot of the friendships I've made. And I hope that answers the question. If anybody wants to get to know me more than that, you're always welcome to reach out to me and I'll chat with you online or whatever. I'm very easygoing.
He's a very boring life, so he does like people to reach out and talk to him a bit.
Yeah, I'm actually a boring guy. Yeah.
Will asked a question.
I'm not a celebrity like Jeff.
Oh, I'll talk about myself in a minute. You know I like doing that. You guys can all log off.
Yeah.
Will asked if we can share our vision. I don't know about you, Jason, but I'm a minus 2.75 in each eye, and my left eye has some astigmatism. I don't know about what your glasses are.
Well, I can see you. Now I can't. So that's about the limits of my vision. Yeah.
I know what you're getting at there, Will, and that's still, like I said, we're still really fresh on this. It's something that we haven't really had a chance to sit down with and talk about in that respect, because we've been trying to get to this point that we can now have those conversations. It would be too presumptuous of us and preemptive for us to have done that about a week or two ago when this whole process, I guess it was like 3 weeks ago when this whole process started for us. But once we do have some thoughts on that, we will be able to share what we can when we can.
I got
Um,
thoughts.
you've got thoughts?
I've got thoughts. Can I share my
So
thoughts? I'm not speaking for the company. I'm speaking for me.
are you sure? Because I'm going to speak for me too. No, I'm kidding. Go ahead, Jason. Go
Okay.
ahead.
When I started the game store, I wanted one of the big things Jess and I cared about was making sure that there was affordable fun for everybody, and that's how we ran our business as a game store. Part of the reason why I'm so excited to be given this amazing honor of an opportunity to guide Genesis going forth is on a small scale. I hope that not only can we make the game one of the most successful card games out there, but I hope that we can also do some good along the way. If the game winds up being really successful and if the company winds up being very profitable, I would love to do a lot of good and have our company be built on a foundation of making a positive impact whenever we can. It might be big, it might be small things, but I'm trying to live my life to try and help as many people as we can along the way. And Janice here is off camera nodding yes at the same time because that's what we're focused on. We want to survive, but we also want to make a positive impact on the people that we meet. And some people could already attest to that, I think. So that's my goal.
It's
And
kind
a
of funny,
community
Jason.
welcoming community for everyone.
Yeah.
It's kind
Sorry.
of funny, Jason. I'm in the same boat or very similar boat. Anyone who knows me from what I've worked on in the past, I do try and be very. I try and give back to the community as much as I can, whether it's just advice, help, or actual donations, sort of thing. And my goal is fun. I want people to have fun. I want them to enjoy. That's why anything I've worked on my own is available everywhere for everyone. There's print and plays of my own games. There's
Yeah.
things like that of my own stuff because I'm in it to help people have fun and enjoy their lives. We're not here. This is getting a little bit personal now, but we're not here forever. So enjoy yourself while you're here when you can. And
Yeah.
I hope I can bring a smile to someone's face once in a while for something like that. And that's really my goal, is to bring a smile to someone's face once in a while.
And the one last goal that I'd like to share too is I very strongly hope that we can help the Genesis community grow to be a very diverse and welcoming community where everyone always feels welcome and safe to come and play the game. And hopefully, somewhere down the line, everyone, no matter who they are in the world, will be able to see some character or some aspect of Genesis that they can personally identify with and relate to. That's something that's very important to me. It's important to me that everybody gets fair representation and gets a fair opportunity to have fun, an equal opportunity. So that's something I'm very passionate about, is making sure that no one gets left behind.
Yep. Yep. And I'm on that same wavelength, Jason. That's actually funny enough, something we haven't talked directly about. But just our characters come through in that's where we both want to put our efforts and energies.
Yeah.
Shahan has a follow-up to the judge program. He wants to know if we're planning to reach out to current judges at some point.
Oh, I imagine we
Current
would. Why would we not, right? If there are people who put in the effort before, when the time comes to start that program up again, be it under the same name or a new one, I don't know if a list exists of everybody who was certified. I don't know, and if it does, I don't know if we have it. But I would love to, at the right time when we start exploring that, to definitely reach out to everybody who put that time and effort in before, and hopefully some of them are still interested in carrying on.
Shahan, I know you were a little bit closer to the judging program, at least in my experience. If you have a list, please share it with me. I will pass it on to Jason, or if you have Jason on socials, you can send it to him as well, so that at least we have something to go off of. Because all we have right now are our memories, and we're both, despite our youthful, debonair good looks, we are getting older, and our memories aren't as good as they used to be.
Yeah.
So it'd be nice to have a list of that we can go off of.
And I don't dye my hair like Jeff does, so I don't look as youthful. Look at that guy.
It's just long, Jason. It hides the grays when it's long.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. Mine looks
Yep,
like
yep.
it's white on camera, and you look like, I don't know. You look, your hair looks as dark as the guitar behind you. Come on. You're gonna tell me that? Okay. I believe you.
Shahan has something. He said he'll share it with us. So that's
Great. Awesome. Thank you.
Are there any other questions, comments, anything like that before we show that video one more time and call it a night? because I've gone through the main questions that came through earlier today. Nothing else has popped up in the Discord, and we're got nothing else in the YouTube comments right now. I could talk briefly about myself if we want, because
Yeah,
I
you
think
put me
Kevin
on the
Ryder.
spot. You should say
Yeah.
a little bit about yourself.
I was trying to avoid it, but no one's saying in there. Yeah, we're all done with questions, so maybe I should.
If you're gonna talk about yourself, I'm gonna step away and get a drink. Go ahead.
Go right ahead. Jason's done a lot of talking. His throat is parched. So where do I start? Back in 19 no,
Oh my God.
I could do a better one. If anyone's as old as me, they'll remember Golden Girls, and I can go picture it. Sicily, 1945. These are only jokes me and Jason are laughing at. You poor
Yeah,
people have to
I
deal with
understood
this.
that reference.
I know. It makes you old, Jason. It makes you old. But yeah, so I've for what I bring, I guess, to the table. Back in high school, I started writing, drawing, and publishing a comic book with my friends. We distributed in the local Toronto area at about 5 or 6 local stores. If anyone's familiar with the Toronto area and they know Dragon Lady, Red Nails, Suspect Video, Silver Snail, places like that, that's where we distributed our comic book. Took a small hiatus when family happened. I majored in creative writing at York University, so I have a writing degree, and that was my passion. That is not my day job, but that's my passion. And now I've come back to the writing, drawing sphere, not just through games, but through comics and things like that as well. I've made some new comic books recently. I wrote a short story collection, and I've
The
been
wars
working
went on
on
without him, right?
The Wars Went On Without Him. Yes, it's a
Yeah.
fictionalized tale of my grandparents' plight during and after World War II and immigration to Canada. It's a little bit close to the heart for me. It is fictionalized because some stuff in it didn't happen, and I have to clarify that so family doesn't get mad. But
Wait, you mean your grandfather wasn't the one who killed Hitler? I thought that. Oh, well, at least I don't feel
sorry,
bad
Jason,
about spoiling
I
the end of
ruined it
the.
for you.
Yeah,
I
at
ruined it
least I don't
for
feel
you.
bad
Yeah.
about spoiling the end now that I know that that part wasn't real.
Who would have
Jeez.
thought that the Titanic sunk, right? Like it's one of those ones. um, but yes, that's where I come from the creative aspect of things. Outside of the whole creative endeavor, and music and things like that, as you can tell by the guitars, it's not just a clever backdrop. Outside of that, I have been in business for almost 25 years now. We're starting in marketing, starting in sales, then marketing, then back to sales, now into accounting and upper management. So I have a history in business that's runs pretty deep. Not as deep as Jason's, but almost as deep.
A lot longer though.
A lot longer,
Yeah.
slower climb. We'll put it that way. Slower climb.
Yeah.
Wearing many hats. So we do bring a lot to this, complementary elements.
Yeah, I definitely
Um,
think we both have unique but yet complementary skill sets for this industry.
100%. I agree. I agree. And to make that even more so, I am going to shave this middle part of my beard at some point so that we even look complementary. That we have, matching facial hair that is complementary to itself.
We're going to go wrestling reference for you. We're going to go full Steiner Brothers, are we? With matching beards that combine together. The Steiner Brothers? You're not familiar with them? One had a white beard here, and the other one had a white beard over his whole face. So, like,
What
if you put
era
them
are we
together,
talking about? I only watched 80s wrestling, so I've got like Hacksaw Jim Duggan and Jake the Snake and stuff like that. I don't know.
no, like the late '90s when the NWO happened and Hogan went bad. That was when they had the matching beards. That,
Oh, yeah, no,
so a little
I grew
later.
up by then. I grew up by then and wasn't into wrestling.
I
I'm
I
kidding.
own I
Wrestling's
own a
big.
game
I know a
store.
lot of
I'm
people
never
love.
growing up.
I know a lot of people that love wrestling. I'm just kidding. I'm just being a jerk.
It's all good. It's all good.
Yes, Shahan. Thank you for apologizing for me being in business for 25 years. It sucks, but whatever. Got to put food on the table, right?
I
And
love my
now you
job.
know where the Jason loves his job. Sure, he works at a game store. He plays games
Yeah.
all day, right? Is that what you do?
No, but I love it anyway. I love watching other
Yeah,
people play games all day. It's really satisfying. And I'm not being
yeah.
sarcastic, it is.
No, I totally understand that because I enjoy when someone tells me they've played a game of mine. It makes me really, really happy.
No doubt.
And you guys know, I don't think I've won a single. Maybe I've won one. I won one game of Genesis once, one round, not one game.
Well, you probably beat
One
me
of
then,
three.
because I usually lose to everybody.
Oh, I beat former world champion Sid. I mean, Grandma's brand hot dog.
Wait, you only ever won one game, but it was against a former world champion?
And we do not need to go into the details that he was testing a new deck with a new card, and it
Oh.
was. We don't need to go into those details.
Yeah, don't go into those details. Just take the win and run with it.
Cut that from the feed. Can we cut that from the feed, please?
Yeah. Wait, no, I think we're live, but you know.
Damn it. That's not true. Jason beat my Malik. Oh, Jason, you beat John's Malik?
I would swear that I lost to him. Did I?
I lost to John because I think we were surrounded by 16 judges, and they all said, John, why don't you play this deck against Jeff? And he just wiped the floor with me. I can't win in a like good situation, and they made him take advantage of my lack of ability in playing this game. I won Pack Wars. Did I win Pack Wars? I did win Pack Wars once, yes. And then I lost brutally when I played against 3 people. So yeah, you're right. I did win that Pack Wars. You're right, Grandma brand hot dogs. I can win when no one else has any hope of winning. That's when I win the games. When they're at a marked disadvantage, I have a chance of winning.
Technically, I think you won with Sid in that Basin's dungeon encounter, didn't you? Didn't all the people lose and you won? When you helped Sid that night in the role-playing game?
I think I was being encouraged to play a certain way to help me win, because I wouldn't have won if it was just all up to me.
Oh.
I don't know what I'm doing. I can be creative as heck, but when it comes to actually competing, I am not competitive at all. I'm a very competitive person, but not competitive when it comes to games at all. I lose to my children. They're 12 and 15, and I lose to them every time, no matter what game we're playing. I taught my daughter how to play Magic and lost to her. I taught my son how to play Pokemon and lost to him. Immediately, as soon as they learned, they just turned the tables on me. And yeah, that's where I stand in the gaming sphere.
That's fair.
I don't think we missed anything. I hope we caught everyone's questions. Did we?
Are you
Did
sure?
we cover enough of our history? We really don't want to go back to diaper time with me and Jason. If you guys want to go that far back, we will. But if you wait another few years, we'll probably be in diapers again. We're getting close to that point in our lives. But it's a joke I make often. Sorry, it's not really all that funny. Do we want to show that video one more time and see if anyone has questions after we show that reveal video one more time?
Well, yeah, let's definitely show the video and then come back, okay?
Yes, we'll come back. So pay attention, everyone.
Here's one more look at some new artwork coming from Genesis. I'm just as excited the second time I saw that.
I'm just blown away by it. Like, just look at, I mean, Marion's work, or Marion maybe, her work is just phenomenal. I mean, you can't beat it. And look at Mario's work. Look at a few sets ago and look at that one, and it's just, I mean, I'm impressed by all of them, but man, does it show the growth, and just blew me out of the water. Just blew me out of the water.
Yeah, lots of growth. It's so impressive.
Oh, Marion is in the chat there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's like 1 or 2 in the morning there for her or something. So thank you for joining us.
Amazing art. Loving it. Yeah, really props to you. So good.
Yeah. Everyone, tell her in that chat right now, because that's just phenomenal. That Yvonne, it's wow. Blew it out of the water. Yeah, most art happens at night, right, Marion? Like that's when our most creativity flows, is the later at night it gets. Did anyone have any questions about the artwork? Jason, is there any questions you saw that we missed in the chat? or Janice, did you pick up on anything?
Just give me 1 second here. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I saw a question. Can I get the video again so I can see it? Sorry. Oh, sorry, I'm just reading the question. Give me 1 second. I apologize, Jeff.
Fill it
All
in with a
right.
little song. No, never mind. Go ahead.
Okay, so one of the big questions I'm sure a lot of people are wondering, and I'm going to answer it right now, is Steve Terrell, Steve-O, the man, the myth, the legend, has asked, what are your thoughts on convergence and compatibility of the game with Genesis? And I'm going to answer the question a lot of people are dying to hear. My thoughts on it is that there is only one Genesis Battle of the Champions. And if anybody wants to make any product that they plan on selling to make money off of, let me be clear on that. If you're going to sell it to make money and you're going to say the name Genesis Battle Champions at all, you need to first approach the company that owns the game, which is us, and try and get a license. And nobody's done that. So, quite frankly, again, there's only one Genesis Battle of the Champions. And anybody doing anything, saying anything, mentioning that their product is compatible with it is inappropriate because that's our IP, it's our game, and we have a duty to all the fans out there to perform quality control and ensure that everything that comes out that's related to Genesis meets our standards. So now, with that being said, I will also say that anybody out there who wants to make their own game and do their own thing, I am super, super supportive of, for sure. Make your own game, make a better game, make whatever you want, and I will cheer you on. But as far as the words Genesis Battle Champions goes, that license is wholly, exclusively, globally owned by Edge of Exile Entertainment. We put a lot of work and effort into securing it to save this game for everybody out there who loves it. And now that we have saved the game and we have high hopes and high plans and expectations to make it even better moving forward, we will protect that game as well. And I think that's very important to understand. We wish everybody out there who wants to do their own thing nothing but success. But you can't use Genesis to do that. You have to tread your own path, grow your own path, walk your own path, do your own thing, and we will wish you well.
Yep, 100%. The world needs more art and more creativity in it. Put it out there. Put out what you like. Blaze your own trail and do your own thing. By all means, please. I encourage anyone, young, old, creativity. Do
make a great game, and I'll play it and love it. You know. For sure.
Right?
Absolutely. Cheer you on. Yeah. But yeah, as far as the concept that a game could be made by other people and they could advertise it as compatible with Genesis, and you could say that you can use Genesis cards to play someone else's game, that will never happen. That's never happened. Nobody out there has ever tried to say you can play Pokemon with Magic cards, or you can, play our game and use Yu-Gi-Oh with it. Like, that doesn't work that way. When it comes to anything to do with Genesis Battle Champions, we are the stewards of it, and we're going to take very good care of this game and make sure that it is one of the best, if not the best, game moving forward. That's our goal, right? And we do that just because we care about the game passionately and we care about the community passionately. So there's your open and honest answer.
I have a question for the chat. Maybe they'll be able to answer it. Will you guys be back next Monday when we're here? Will you be back maybe with some new questions, some fresh questions, some thoughts? Will you be here?
Well, we'll have some fun updates next week with more stuff to spoil and
I hope so.
and more news. And, we're going to have a lot of stuff to talk about moving forward. So I hope people will come back to get to hear all the exciting news and developments and see more spoilers. And
for sure.
Lots of exciting things ahead, for sure.
Yeah. So there's a spoiler. We're going to have more spoilers on Monday, probably. Yeah. So, yeah.
Your spoiler.
Yeah, there's a spoiler for spoilers. This is decision to make a decision type thing.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's great. So if no one has anything else, Jason, I think we've been here an hour and a half, hour 45 if people start at the top of that countdown. I think we've eaten up enough of their Monday nights.
Yep.
People can go watch. Is wrestling still on Monday nights? Is Monday Night Raw still a thing?
Yeah, it is a thing.
You guys can all go watch Monday Night Raw. Try and find these wrestlers that Jason claims existed with two different beard patterns that I think he made up in his head.
That was 20 years ago. They're gone now. But regarding the countdown, I did that deliberately because our intention is because we're trying to run this company like a well-oiled, what is it? Well-oiled wheel,
Machine.
chain,
Well-oiled machine.
well-oiled machine. Our live stream should always start within a minute or so of exactly 7 o'clock. So I do that long countdown to give people a heads up. But you don't have to tune in until like a minute to 7, and you should be right at the start of the episode every time. That's our goal.
Jason, no, while he's oiling the machine, I'm throwing monkey wrenches in it the entire time.
And I'm pulling them out. You know how hard
pulling
it
them
is
out.
to grab
That's it.
slippery oiled monkey wrenches? Those things just slip out of your hand.
Awesome. Okay. I think that's it. Unless anyone has anything they need to bring up, I think we can call it a night, Jason. And I thank you all for coming here and all your questions. I guess if we have more, send them our way, and we'll build them up for next Monday. If there's any other questions, we'll try and get to them next Monday. We'll try and be more concise next Monday and keep it to an hour. Just take up an hour of people's time. That's a little more reasonable.
Well, we'll have less to talk about, right? We had a lot of info to share today.
Might have more to talk about. Who knows what's going to happen between now and then? With,
you know what? That's true. Actually, there's stuff happening every day.
It'd be nice to leave on a cliffhanger. So you hit the off button when I go, and one last thing, and then you hit cancel, and then they'll think there's something really important next time.
Well, I didn't have time to make end credits for this one because I did that 15-minute countdown timer. So what I'll do is when we're done talking, we're going to watch the video one more time of the cards, and then I'll hit stop after that, just to give people something to say their goodbye comments on while it winds down for the night.
Awesome. Excellent. Thank you all so much for joining us. Jason, thank you for hosting this.
Thank you for being here.
Janice, our tech team.
Yeah, we
couldn't have done it without her. And we'll see you guys in the arena. Isn't that it? We need some sort of a sign-off thing.
Yeah.
I'll see you in the arena.
Kind of like all the Star Trek captains who have their like key phrase. We'll figure out one for you. Here, try one right now. Give us a cool key phrase for saying goodbye.
I think you just got it. We'll figure it out later.